I need a haircut.
Oh, Mike, quit coifing yourself.
Hey, Mike, I got a Flowbee. I come do it for you, bro.
All right. Why don't I just come out there and let you do it?
Yeah, that's where I was meaning. I got my Flowbee here. I don't have it. Well, I do have one back in Colorado too.
Are they even letting anybody on the island right now?
They are. Our numbers have been going up, but our positivity rate is still pretty reasonable. But the numbers have been definitely going up. Unfortunately, I got my bike work done yesterday and picked it up, and the mechanic says, "Oh, I see you're from Colorado," and we started talking. He says, "Where are you from?" I said, "Idaho Springs." I guess he's from, I think he said Montrose. Anyways, he told me he always makes an extra special trip to go to your place to get your fried chicken. He says it's the best in the world.
Cool.
I says, I'm going to be talking to him tomorrow. He'll be happy to hear that. Yeah, he raved about it. He says, it's excellent. It's the best ever.
Good, good.
He had a picture of your place on his phone.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm big time.
You are.
Because everybody I talk to is, I'm from Idaho Springs, and it's always, oh, we go to Tommy Knockers and Mojo's and the Buffalo all the time when we come through there. I'm like, well, you bonehead, you're supposed to stop in at the other end of town every once in a while.
Well, there we go. It was great. I was excited.
Marcel, how are you? I see Dr. Ryan, welcome. Mark, good to see you. Hi, Sadie and Kate, Jay. All right, I'm gonna give one more minute to everybody, and then we'll get started. Oh. Well, we'll do a small talk for another minute. How was everybody's New Year? Everybody behave themselves and bring it in the right way.
That's oxymoron, isn't it?
Yeah.
How was yours, Mike? Were you busy?
Started. We've got Dr. Ryan with us. We like to do at the beginning of each of our meetings, let him kind of give us an update of what he's heard, what's going around on counties kind of around us and touching us, and what we should be continuing to do or doing better or different. So Dr. Ryan, with that, I'm giving you the floor.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. Lots going on. Where to begin? The forest fire continues. The entire country is on fire, in case you hadn't noticed. Hospitalizations are record high, fatalities record high. Here in Colorado, our numbers have been doing pretty good, although in the last several days we've had an uptick, which is not unexpected or unsurprising. We in Clark Creek County have maintained the most part. Sorry, I'm getting off about 12 different conversations. Our test positivity rate has increased last week. Last week's testing was at 10%, bringing us up to now 7% total. And our number continues to hover in red. As you are probably aware, the governor unilaterally decided last week to move every county in the whole state to orange, regardless of their numbers. So counties like ours, who are right on the border between orange and red, sort of makes sense. Counties that are at 1,500, 2,000 per 100,000, it makes 0 sense to me why they would do that, but here we are. So that has created a lot of confusion and a lot of frustration, particularly in counties in which have a 5-star program. Primarily because in the 5-star program, tables need to be 10 feet apart, and at level orange, they need to be 6 feet apart. So lots of fun, confusing weekend talk amongst my peers, and created a lot of work over the weekend to try to figure out the difference between a 5-star program and in orange, and what's the difference, and how can they make that all mesh together and make it work. I don't know what came out of that. We don't have a 5-star program as of right now, so it was less relevant. But as of noon today, the county is now operating per the governor in the orange level, even though 2 of our numbers do not indicate we are in orange. We're currently still in red. That's that. We are continuing to test. The testing is now on Tuesdays. The curative van in Idaho Springs, it moved from Wednesdays to Tuesdays. You need to register beforehand before you show up to get tested. We're going to continue to do that. They seem to be able to manage anyone and everyone who wants to get tested. Jefferson County also has 10 different sites. They have 24-hour or 7 days a week available. And I know a number of people go down there to get tested randomly on a Sunday. So we are holding our breath as to what comes out of Christmas and New Year's. I am less hopeful. What we did during Thanksgiving worked. Everyone seemed to abide by what was given as guidance. Anecdotally, what I saw at Christmas and New Year's was a little bit different. A lot of more cars parked outside people's homes in my neighborhood alone, just as a direct indicator of what may be coming. So I'm anticipating a spike in the coming weeks. I hope I'm wrong, but unfortunately, I'm probably going to be right. So we're going to hold steady in orange right now. The governor gave absolutely no indication how long this blanket orange is going to last. He's not one for details. He makes everyone else figure out his random thoughts and devils in the details. So I don't know is the short answer how long it's going to last. We were in Orange Plus, as most of you are aware. So not really a lot of change from moving from Orange Plus to Orange. Most other businesses are impacted more than the restaurants are. Vaccine rollout, as you are aware, we have no idea how many we're getting in any given week. We just found out this morning that we should be receiving tomorrow 100, not 200, as we were anticipating. So we're frantically trying to figure out how we're going to distribute those and who we're going to give them to. The governor also randomly decided that he's going to change the age at which people are going to prioritize for getting the vaccine down to 70. So now we're having to deal with that and figure out how do we get those 70 plus folks in, which there's roughly 950 or so of those in our county, of those individuals. So we're trying to figure all that out as quickly as we humanly possibly can. And we know that everything could possibly change tomorrow. That's just the unfortunate reality that we face right now, is things change on a day-to-day basis, and we're supposed to change right along with them, except it requires a lot of work to change with the wind, in the political wind that is. Any questions so far?
Dr. Ryan, any idea how long it's taking for tests to come back at this point in time?
Tests that were done last Wednesday, we received results back, I believe, on Saturday or Sunday. So it's about 4 or 5 days. Testing continues to go. Like I said, the whole country is on fire. Colorado is I don't know what the fire term is, but we're in a smolder. But the rest of the country is absolutely on fire. California, where the lab is that we utilize in Clear Creek County, California numbers are absolutely through the roof. So testing nationwide is significantly higher than it was. We set a bunch of very unfortunate records over the last 5 days. The most number of hospitalizations, the most number of new cases, which is now approaching 300,000 per day. That should alarm you. And the highest number of fatalities 2 days running across the entire country. So that's sort of where we're at. There's no alternative, Chip, to what testing we have. The state lab is at max capacity. Every lab in the country is at max capacity, and there are no qualified laboratory people who are currently unemployed. Every one of them in the entire country is actively employed and working around the clock.
Okay. Any questions for Dr. Ryan?
Dr. Ryan, I kind of want to ask a little bit about kind of the RT numbers. And for the record, I agree with everything we're doing. I think Clear Creek County's, behaving very responsibly. And I'm not looking to make any drastic changes. And I know you can't read minds, but maybe the governor's trying to try out what Florida's trying, where they're just, we can just open things up, because Florida seems to be 100% open and their RT numbers are still at 1.15. The transmission rates there are not fantastically low, but they don't seem to be any worse or better than they were throughout this pandemic. So possibly, the kind of accepting the fact that so much of what's going on with transmission is not necessarily in the areas that they're restricting. And again, I'm not trying to go on record saying that I agree or disagree with what anybody's doing. I think that we are behaving responsibly, but I would surmise that, the exhaustion with our restrictive levels and the data showing that, the changes are happening sometimes regardless of what we're doing. Maybe that could be, just him just saying, let's get the economy going and still play it safe. Kind of a rhetorical question, for the
Marcel, I have a 4-pack of one of your beers in my refrigerator that I bought 10 days ago. I think that speaks volumes about my ability to, or inability to, drink the 4-pack that I bought. Aspirations of tasting it. First and foremost, I wouldn't trust anything out of Florida as an official number. I know some things about what's going on in Florida, and I wouldn't trust their numbers just from a strictly numbers perspective. I think the other thing that's going on in Florida, I know this firsthand because my in-laws are there. Everyone over the age of 60 is not going anywhere. They are absolutely housebound because they're terrified to go out in the community because of the folks who are out. The community spread is quite high. So when half your population is terrified to leave their home, transmission rates, the number doesn't really truly reflect the reality on the ground, right? Because they're doing a population based. And if half your population doesn't leave their home out of fear of their life, then it's sort of an artificially low number. So I think the governor is trying to do that. I certainly would never run for governor because I wouldn't want to be in his position. He's at simultaneously on a much bigger level, obviously, than somebody like me, is struggling between the economics of our county and the health of our county. And I said this the first day I started. It's a struggle between those two, and it's a balance. And if you go one way or the other too far, then there could be significant consequences. Either all the businesses go out of business, and or the disease is so high that we have no choice but to shut down. And so I think right now in Clear Creek County, we've been walking that balance. It's not ideal in either situation, in either of those, but I think we're doing a pretty good job right now of balancing that. The other thing I think I heard several times over the last several weeks from this community group, the businesses in particular, one thing that you guys want is consistency, particularly restaurants. You want to know that you're going to need to buy food for next week. So one thing I'm trying to do is not get caught up in the flavor of the day and not get caught up in this program or that program that I know is going to take lots of work to roll out, lots of money to roll out, and it isn't really going to provide us any better consistency across the board for you guys. right? I mean, all the five-star counties in this state are absolutely pissed off. I was on a call with a lot of them. It's obvious that that program isn't going to provide them the consistency they need. What we need is to manage our numbers, do what we're doing right now, and maintain an openness. Granted, it isn't as open as we would like, but we're getting there. I'm concerned for the next several weeks. The entire country around us is on fire, and hundreds of thousands of those people that live in the other part of the country are descending upon Colorado on a daily basis, bringing the embers with them from which they came. So my concern is the next several weeks and see how that plays out in maintaining our level orange right now and what we have, and being vigilant in the guidance that we're giving and in the practices that we're doing. I think are going to go a long way, and we're going to come out on the end of this, not perfect, but certainly not as battered and bruised as some of our neighbors around the state and around the country, for that matter. I wish I had 1,000 vaccines a day to give out, but the reality is the federal government continues to be absolutely useless. No, I'm not choosing politics. That's just the reality. And if you believe otherwise, please call me, and I'm more than happy to give you example after example of how the federal government has absolutely failed this country. The states are left to fend for themselves. And so again, I don't have, the governor is doing the best he can, as every governor in this entire country is. They've had to fend for themselves and oftentimes compete against each other, because when the federal government drops the ball, that's what happens. States have to compete with each other, and that never ends in a win-win for everybody. The only way we win-win is when the federal government leads and takes control. And politics aside, that just didn't happen in reality, based on in the real world that I live in. Anyway,
Can you segue into the mutations? Is there any cause for concern on the news on that? So far, I'm hearing that it's just more contagious, but it's not more deadly.
Great question. So viruses mutate. Every virus mutates. It's just reality. The flu and colds are a prime example, both of which are SARS-CoV-2. So the mutation was expected. As far as how much more transmissible it is, yes, right now the current thinking is it's far more transmissible. The current thinking is also it is not any more deadly, which is good. The fear is that migration changes to that. But oftentimes when that sort of thing happens, it becomes so deadly that it sort of kills itself out, right? Like something like Ebola is far too deadly that it can't possibly spread the way that this sort of thing is. So we're not at that point yet. The third thing is every single one of the vaccine makers is actively testing this mutation on their vaccine to make sure that it's still effective against this mutation. And from what I've read thus far is that it is. The vaccines, the Pfizer, the Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and AstraZeneca are all still able to effectively kill this mutation just as effectively as it was the other. So all of that is very comforting from my perspective. If we got to a point where the vaccine was not effective, we'd be having a very different conversation altogether, and we're not there yet. So I'm trying to keep up with everything and anything that I can, which is no easy task, and I've asked for a raise a couple times. But the reality is we're going to continue to monitor that. The FDA and the CDC are going to be doing a lot more sampling across the United States than they have been. They have not done as much as they need to or should have been. In terms of they would randomly get samples from across the states and actively look at those to make sure that any variation that did come out, they were very well aware of it beforehand. So they are upping their game, which is good news. Should have happened many months ago, but we won't go there. The reality is they're now monitoring it much more quickly. And the one case that you heard about, just for the record, there's probably tens of thousands across the United States of people who are actively infected with the mutation. We just happened to find the one because of the lack of looking. It took us a lot longer than it did in England, just as an example.
Okay. I've got a question for you, Dr. Ryan. Going to the orange, we're still at only one household families together at a table. Is that correct?
I would strongly, as strongly as I possibly can, advise that that be the case.
Okay. Anybody else have questions for Dr. Ryan? All right. Thanks as always, Dr. Ryan, for giving us the update on Monday afternoons of what's going on in the pandemic world and what you bring to the table for us. We really appreciate it.
Mike, just one more point. I would ask everybody, the way that this happens, when the governor does things like he did, like he just walks out and has a press conference and starts saying things that nobody else is aware that he's going to say, or what the ramifications of them are, or all that sort of fun stuff that he throws us into. I would ask all of you to wait a little while, so it takes time for us to understand what it is he said, digest it, and regurgitate it out the other end to say, okay, this is exactly what it means for what's on the ground in Clear Creek County. It takes us a little time to do that. It's not an instant thing, and the governor doesn't really think through what he's saying in terms of the impact on everything out there, which is part of the challenge for us. So I would just ask that you give us some time to digest what he said and what it actually means from a policy perspective. A lot of times it has no impact on what we're doing. We're forging ahead in what we're doing. We're staying the course and doing what we're doing, and it has no impact. But other times it takes a little understanding to really figure out what it means, and then disseminate that out to the general public and to businesses, et cetera. Because we get a lot of emails, and my inclination is to ignore them until we can have a sound message that we can get out to everybody. Because I don't want to have one message go out and then an hour and a half later we figure out that that's really not the case, so we have to send another one out. I'm trying to have a single, well thought out, fact-based message that sometimes takes time to put together.
Okay. Thank you for that. All right. We'll move into, like we usually do, what I saw over the weekend. Saturday, very busy. Oh, Andy, you got something?
So Dr. Ryan, oh, is he still there? Sorry. So bottom line, moving to the orange level as of noon today as a county, we're pretty much staying the course. Not much has changed for how we're operating. Am I correct? I realize you know, getting the information out about the details.
Yeah.
But I mean, that overall, that's the bottom line. Am I correct?
That's correct, Andy. So we were, as you are all aware, we were operating in what the CDPHE called Orange Plus. And so the primary change is going to be for a number of other businesses. Restaurants were really the target in the Orange Plus designation. So you have things like the gyms, the rec center, et cetera. There's some changes for them. They're aware of them. We are actively reaching out to those different businesses. But from the restaurant perspective, and most other businesses, it's the same. No, there is no change really. We're still at orange. Nothing has changed for most of your businesses.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to get that bottom line. That's what I thought, but thank you.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, thank you. Again, it looked really busy all over town, East End, West End, downtown. Saturday, Marcel caused a big traffic jam behind his building. He started telling people to park parallel against the Jersey barriers. I know you didn't do that.
No, I did not.
But they started doing it, and then all of a sudden there was cars lined up all the way down into back to City Hall, and nobody could get through there. It was a nightmare. And what happened was one person parked against that Jersey barrier, and then everybody followed suit. So it made it a very difficult and dangerous situation. But we got our code enforcement and police over there to get it rectified.
Yes,
And
I got him.
get it online. Yeah. Yesterday was pretty windy. I know that the folks downtown are struggling to keep their tents tied down and anything else tied down when those winds come traveling down like that through our valley at 50 miles an hour. It does affect us. So with that, I'm gonna open it up. I'm gonna do it a little bit different today. We're gonna hear from Linda first. Linda, how had your last 4 or 5 days over the weekend and holiday been?
Yeah, hi everyone. It was a busy, great New Year's business wise. I think part of it was the timing of the holiday. We had this extra long weekend following both holidays. As far as the last week, business was good. Our employees are really feeling like they're policing people more. I think a lot of the out-of-state travelers are walking in without masks. They're a lot less careful with our COVID restrictions. So we're hoping that will kind of fall off a bit because we have some frustrated employees with the policing. Otherwise, I just really appreciate this group and hearing from Dr. Ryan every week. I would like to hear more about how the restaurants are doing. They're so much more challenged at this point than we are.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Sadie?
I echo what Linda said. It was definitely both a busy couple of weeks for the holidays. Again, it is mostly majority out-of-state travelers. Again, I think that does create a certain level of confusion because every state is so different in how that they're practicing COVID. It's difficult to maintain. I have a little bit smaller, tighter space than Linda does, so it's hard for me to keep my capacity. I almost always have to have someone at the door.
Thank you, Sadie. And I will talk first about the restaurants and what my experience is. And Linda, what I'm experiencing is my building capacity is only 84. So I'm really only allowed to have 21 people in there. That's where a big problem comes in my case, is because I get to capacity and people don't want to wait. They come and of course they say, what? I'm just going to go to a different place in town. And I'm thinking, well, you go down there, you're probably going to be waiting longer than you're going to wait here. So I'm losing a lot of customers. I had a 16 top walk in with my capacity at 22. And what was I going to do? Say, I can't take any more customers, let y'all wait, let my place clear out and let y'all sit there for another hour with no more customers. So, telling 16 people that I can't serve them, that's huge, especially right now. And for a restaurant where our profit margins are so low anyway, anything we turn away. And another problem that I had this weekend, some locals, there was a group of locals that came in. There was 9 people, 8 different households. And I told them I couldn't serve them. I said, I cannot do this. I said, and y'all should know this. And they got really mad at me and came at me over it, and I said, you could be all mad all you, but I cannot serve you. You got one of your folks up walking around the restaurant, talking to other people. I said, what you're doing is completely opposite of what's supposed to happen. So I asked them to leave, so I lost that 9 top as well. But those are kind of some of the problems that I'm running into. Linda, any other restaurant want to speak up and tell us how it's going?
Hey there, Mike. I had a similar situation, not the same as yours, but similar, where I had a family come in and none of them were wearing masks. And they came to the counter and we told them they needed to put masks on. And they said, well, we all have a medical exemption not to wear masks. And I still asked them to leave because that's fine. They may have a medical exemption not to wear masks, but I need to watch out for my employees and the rest of the customers in the shop. So they were very upset about that and saying that's against the law. You can't do that. But other than that situation, which really did stick out, it was a good weekend. In particular, Saturday was a really good day.
Okay, good. Steve?
Yeah, we had good numbers, mostly at capacity at all the right times during the day and all the way through the holiday season. Our percentages were off over last year because it just tells you in past years we can pack the place pretty good. So at 20%, it was a bigger dip. Ending the year, we're still doing the numbers, but ending the year that kind of the consistent 20% down. We had a lot of big groups coming in, but I did find it easier being open and having people sitting there and telling them we were on a wait versus telling them when there's nobody in the building and trying to explain to them the state was on a zero occupancy restriction. That was a lot harder for that time period. So again, telling people they were on a wait was a little bit easier. We did have the same situation. We had a group of locals come in, sit at a table. Some other people come in, join them. Somebody left. They had a beer, which is okay. Then they had another beer, and eventually we had to say, "You guys have to leave. You're just not following the rules." And they, kicked and scruffed out the door, and we're not very happy. But yeah, the big groups. We actually had to take one of our rooms and put 2 tables 10 feet apart in there with 2 6-tops in there and try to cater to some of these groups that supposedly were the same party coming in, but they were a lot of large groups. That's it.
Marcel?
Yeah, same struggle with large groups. I'm lucky to have square footage so I can split them up and try to keep, as much of a restriction on that as possible. But for the most part, lots of people that were adhering to the rules, and then the people that weren't adhering to the rules. I sympathize with you, Randy, because you've got your counter all the way at the back of the building, whereas I've got the front door. They come in, I'm sending them right out if they don't have a mask. And I also have a bunch of disposable ones that I'm just handing them to them. I'm like, you can come in, but you got to put this on. There's so many people that are trying to hold their hand over their face and stuff. I'm like, dude, you're not fooling anybody. Yeah, they put their shirt over their stuff, or I'll tolerate like a scarf maybe, but you look like an idiot. Like, just come on, just put this mask on and play. I don't make the rules, but I follow them, and you should too, is usually what I tell people all the time. And for the most part, everybody's, once they get a beer in them and some nachos, they're very, happy to follow the rules. But I feel fortunate that we were actually able to get ahead of the states opening up, because I feel like we got a head start on all that, so that's nice. And obviously we're a little slower today, so I think we caught the right amount of busy at the right time. And now all we need is the snow, and we'll just be busy on the weekends. So
Yep. And I thought that same thing with my business. Like, well, everybody's closed down in Denver, in other counties, and they're coming up here, and that did put an impact on our business. So, all right, let's see, TJ, you got an update for us?
Yeah, we had a really great holiday week. Echoing some of the points that have already been made, large parties and such. But it's successful. We saw people wanting to sit outside in our ice fishing tents, and so yeah.
All right, good. I've heard a lot of good things up here, and a lot of people going over there and using the tents from everybody downtown, Cidery and Pickaxe Pizza and everybody. So that's really good. Let's see who else we have here. Why don't we real quick, Lindsay from the deli and economic development. You got anything from both avenues?
Just echoing the same. Oh, I need to change my background. Different season. Just same thing on our end. Great Saturday, a little bit less on Sunday. I had one person that came in holding their jacket up to pick up their food, but for the most part, everyone's compliant, and we don't really get a lot of large parties over here, so that wasn't too bad. And we ended up pulling all our seating out to make sure, so they can't even, there's no option for them to sit. So we just have small tables out, spaced out, that meets our 25%. Let's see, what else? On the CCDC side, we do still have funding available for the round 2 COVID loans. So if you're needing any kind of working capital, let us know. If you did receive funding in round 1, and again, these are loans, unfortunately not a grant, but if you did receive a round 1 loan, you do qualify to apply for an additional $30,000 in round 2. So if you could just help us get the word out about that. Again, we've got a significant amount of funding available to help businesses in that way. We will continue to be posting information on the stimulus benefits as they come available to us. We've held off on putting a lot out on PPP2 and everything going on there until we get more details. I've spoken with a bank who kind of advises us, and they said hopefully by mid to late this week, we'll know more information. So keep checking on clearcreekedc.org. We have business resources, grants, anything that we become aware of, we put up there. We also will be holding a webinar with Dan Ebert in the next couple of weeks to talk through some of those stimulus opportunities as well. So I guess that's all I got right now.
All right, thank you, Lindsay. Mark, what's going on up in Georgetown?
Sorry, had to unmute myself. So, yeah, I mean, we had a good week at both of my stores, and it's going pretty smoothly. I've got food licenses in both of my stores, but we don't have any seating. So we kept the signs up, you can't eat inside, and that kept people moving through. So overall, it was a great week, other than the wind, I think.
All right, thanks, Mark. Danny, with parking, interstate parking, you have an update for us of what we saw this weekend? And I know it's a mess back there. I believe that CDOT is out and working in the parking lot starting today. Andy, have you seen them out there? Yeah. So I'm going to lean on them. I'm going to send them an email to tell them how it impacted our business over these holidays. Tell them what kind of situation we ran into on Saturday with the backing up of traffic. I just want to keep leaning on them to try to push them to get that done and get the heck out of here. Give us our parking lots back.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say it's slower for us with, less parking, obviously, with kind of the mess that's going on in those back lots. We're really just trying to push people, our ambassadors who are there, we're really trying to push people to busting lot, because that's really where we only have space if there's no space on Minor or in the Tommyknocker lot. So it is kind of just a mess with all that parking gone. But we apologize, and we're really trying to get people not to park on those barriers, even if they are paid. And that was just the issue that we were running into, is that a lot of the people who did park along those barriers were paid parkers. So it was a little sticky for us to ask them to move with very little space that we have. So hopefully we can get the lots open sooner than later.
All right. Any questions for Interstate? All right. Let's see, Carla, we'd like to get an update of what's going on at the school.
Hi. Sorry. I didn't do my hair today. Yeah, so they have started construction. I do have one question for Danny. I think I copied you on an email, and Andy and I think John are aware of this as well. We don't have a ton of workers on site yet, but there will be times over the next couple weeks or so that we will need possibly additional parking spaces. And so I talked to Andy about using some of the spaces over at across from the rec center there, the city lot over there.
I told Mike this morning.
It's just Mike, one more signature.
Lindsay, I think you're not muted. And we were wondering how we can make sure that the construction guys have a place to park so they're not taking up city spots in the historic district.
Yeah, no, and I think I apologize if I missed it. I'm still going back to my email. I was on vacation for a week and a half, but I'll touch base with you personally on that, so we can definitely get something figured out, and with Andy and John as well. So I will be sure to touch base with you by end of day today.
Thanks, Danny.
Of course.
And just so everybody kind of understands, the discussion with Andy was to use the CDOT right away over on the other side of the exit 240 ski shop first. I don't know that any of that is available right now. I haven't been down there.
Yeah, it's not available because CDOT is doing some work at the intersection of Idaho and 13th Avenue. And there'll be ADA ramps and curb and gutter and all of that. So unfortunately, that's no longer available for parking. So it all have to be in the Mustang lot or some other location.
Okay. Yeah, so the intent is that we're trying to keep those guys out of the primary parking for the restaurants and the stores and everything. So we're working on that, just so everybody knows. But yeah, they're moving dirt the next couple weeks, and then they'll start to put in concrete and everything, if depending on how weather's looking. So that's what I know.
Thank you, Carla. We've got Dan Wester with us. Dan, do you have anything to inform the group or something that you're seeing out on our streets that we might want to take a look at and consider and do better? Do you have anything for us, Dan?
No, sir. We have some policing now and again, but short of that, I think Idaho Springs, I'm not, trying to blow any smoke up anybody's skirt, but you guys are doing probably better than any one of my communities.
How about that? Good going, community. That's a plus from everybody on this call and others that aren't on this call. Very good. That's good to hear.
I learn a lot from these, listening in on these, and try to carry it over to some of the other communities. But yeah, it's been a really good forum.
That's good to hear. Andy?
Yeah, just a reminder to the group that both our building official, Dan Wester, and his team and the fire department are willing to work with businesses and property owners in any way. They've really tried to go the extra mile with trying to do what, make sure that what's being done is safe, but also trying to work within the whatever can be allowed. Just a reminder to everybody that if you're making any modifications, to please contact City Hall first, so we can make sure that it does get the proper review and approvals that might be needed, either from fire or building or both. Thanks.
Okay. All right, now I'm just gonna, Chief, do you have anything for us?
Overall, things are going great. We are getting some complaints about people speeding down Minor, but we deal with that the best we can. There was one yesterday, met with the employee of one business, a young employee, young person, had nothing but negative things to say about what was going on. They did bring out a point that I guess there's a consensus that businesses other than restaurants are being left out of the process. So Jonathan, if you don't mind, I'll pick up some of your cards on Wednesday, and I'll just do my rounds and just invite people to send you an email if they want to be linked into these meetings. One of the other complaints I got was that people are leaving these outside premises with alcohol. So I've not seen it as much time as I spend down, in the historic district on and off duty. But if you guys would, where you've got the confined areas, make sure you repost your signs on the bollards that say no alcohol past this point. So at least we're doing our due diligence to prevent that. Once again, this was one citizen, had nothing but negative things to say, someone who was very young, and obviously, I know from my experience with the group has not been involved, but I think it won't hurt us to go the extra mile and re-invite those other entities.
Hey, Chief, so as far as the to-go, this is Lindsay, the to-go alcohol, that was extended. So I think it's over now. I need to check, but through December 31st, I think everyone was covered doing to-go alcohol.
It's not about to-go, it's about public consumption. People can do alcohol, but they can't walk into somebody's store drinking a mixed drink in a plastic cup or a beer in a bottle.
Got it. Okay.
So yeah, two different things.
Okay. Sorry.
No sweat.
So Lindsay, that's because I was going to ask about that. So does anybody know if that has expired and we're not supposed to be doing to-go drinks now? Is that Steve, Marcel?
I'm pretty sure we're still allowed to do it. They're going to try to, the restaurant association's lobbying to get that as a permanent fixture, but I'm sure the big liquor stores are going to knock that one down.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I have not, I mean, the Colorado Restaurant Association emails us anytime there's a change, and I don't remember seeing anything that says no longer to go. They'd be pretty, I imagine that would be on their radar to notify us.
Sure. Okay. Then we'll just keep going with it until we hear something. All right. Terry, you have anything for us?
Hi, sorry for the delay there. I really don't have a lot of updates. Just to reiterate what Dr. Tim Ryan was saying, I think it is concerning the new variant of the virus, and I think we want to kind of still keep an eye on that. It is anywhere between 10 to 60% more transmissible, but as you mentioned, not more deadly. But I know the UK is really struggling with that right now. And it was interesting that Dr. Ryan had mentioned he was asking for a raise a couple of times. If there's ever an opportunity for us to support that, I think I would hope that everyone would be able to stand behind him for that, because before this, there was no one in that job. They created that job once the pandemic took place. The 300 cases per day is particularly alarming. So please, I recognize that there is a level of fatigue and a level of compassion fatigue is a part of medicine. And I think dealing with this pandemic is fatiguing everyone. So if you have anyone that you know of who is suffering and is considering harming themselves, has changed in their personality, there is going to be a large amount of mental health sequelae, fallout from the pandemic. And certainly people are feeling that already. Suicidal ideation, people thinking about harming themselves, people changing their behaviors. Please direct my way. Primary care deals with these issues all the time. And so I'm more than happy to screen people for anxiety and or depression. A lot of times if people are experiencing some difficulty now, it will also trigger previous memories of other traumas that they've never discussed, they've never disclosed, they've never talked to anybody about. So if you can please just keep that on your radar. If there's anybody at all who you come into contact with who is struggling and doesn't really respond to you the same way that they used to, please have that awareness. And and any of you as well. We can do telemedicine visits, and we can assist people, and we can start medications, we can start counseling. There are therapists that come into town weekly and are willing to help out. So it's going to get a little worse in that respect before it gets better. So I think this group has been tremendous. I'm very proud to be a part of this group, although sometimes I don't know that I participate much, and I wish I had more that I could contribute, but I typically defer to Dr. Ryan because of his expertise. And just thank you everyone for all that you do. And, I want to be able to contribute as well. So if I can help out, please let me know. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Terry. It's always nice to have more eyes on the prize. There's always, like Dr. Ryan said, he's busy. He came in and said, "Oh, I've had 14 different conversations. I don't know which one I'm supposed to be talking about right now." So yeah, it's crazy out there. All right. Okay, Randy, go ahead. I haven't called on you yet.
Oh, you did already. You got me early.
Oh, that's right. Chip. Any words for us, Chip?
Okay. I don't have a whole lot to add. I mean, it was definitely a better week, better couple of weeks than what we've had coming up, but it normally is. It definitely wasn't the normal hell week that we would usually expect, but I mean, we're as busy as we could be with the amount of capacity that we have. The one thing that I was noticing though is everybody talking about having more problem people keeping their masks on, and over here on the islands, we're a couple of weeks ago we had they were saying 92% compliance, and this last week we were down to like 87%. So seeing a lot more people running around without masks. So I think it's going on around the country, which is not good.
All right, thanks, Chip. I did see Alyssa come on. Alyssa, welcome. Do you have any updates or anything that you need to address this group with?
Hello, everyone. I'm glad to see and hear that things are picking up. I do not have anything to add at the moment. If anyone has any questions for me, though, feel free to reach out.
Anybody have any questions for Alyssa? All right, 5 minutes. We're just going to open it up with any other conversation that anybody would like to have, questions or comments. John Kane, are you going to say something?
I don't think I have anything right now.
Cool. What is the date today? 1/4/2021. Would y'all mark that down that John Kane did not have anything to say today? All right, everybody. It's a pleasure to see everybody into the new year. We know this is going to be a better year. I can already feel it just from the start of it. We'll continue with this group, and I really appreciate your participation and being with us every week just to talk about what's going on. So it helps me and Andy and John and Chief keep up with what we need to be addressing and things that we might need to look at. Chip?
Mayor, I just wanted to thank you for hosting these meetings again. A couple people mentioned how wonderful they are. I know it helps me stay connected. I think it's one of the good things that have come out of this tragedy that we're going through. But thank you very much for your leadership and doing everything that you're doing. It's great. And keep that fried chicken coming.
All right, thanks, Chip. All right, with that, we'll go ahead and call this meeting, and we'll schedule our regular Monday meeting for next week. And again, if anybody has any ideas, thoughts, or something that we need to address, feel free to reach out to any of us, at City Hall or the chief. So thanks again. Have a great week, and we will see you sometime.
Thanks, Mike.
Have a good one. Thanks.
Mike, are we having the 3 o'clock meeting?
Yeah, we're going to do it real quick. Is that Lindsay?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to do it quick. I don't know how much of an update y'all have for us.
Because of New Year's and everything, we did not have a check-in last week. Catherine was still on vacation, so she is going to be on the call with us tomorrow night. So we will have a meeting tomorrow night, but we don't have any updates today.
Okay, then I'm just going to have Andy cancel it.
Okay.
Yeah, if there's nothing to update, then there's no reason to take everybody's time up. I'll let you know.
PCI will be on the call tomorrow, so we'll definitely have updates for you guys next week.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Lindsay.
Perfect. All right.
All right.